Supercars is under high voltage today. The High Voltage Showdown. We look at electric cars with premium claims. On test, the Mercedes EQS 450 Plus, the Porsche Taycan Cross Turismo Turbo S, and we present the Audi e-tron GT. We are in the Swiss Alps, in the middle of Europe. Mercedes presents the most important car of this decade for the manufacturer, the EQS. We have scenery here on the Furka Pass in the middle of Switzerland that is really breathtaking. And the nice thing is, we drive through here purely electrically and particularly quietly. It took a while, but Mercedes now wants to challenge Tesla with the EQ range. Because Mercedes has the brand claim, the best or nothing, the question can only be, is this the best electric car in the world? In terms of shape, it's extremely round at the front, but that's what allows the engineers to achieve the sensational CW value of 0.2. This is it, the all-electric S-Class from Mercedes sub-brand EQ. Exterior design features, understatement, round and thus very streamlined. According to the manufacturer, this luxury car should offer a range of almost 800 kilometers.
We have 780 kilometers. We have a vehicle with a top CW value of 0.20, the best. And of course, that ensures excellent efficiency and a great range. And if you look at the vehicle, it has all the S-Class genes. Everything you're used to from the S-Class, driving supremacy, the whole issue of chassis comfort, ride handling, how the vehicle moves, the superiority, connectivity, the hyperscreen. And then we have that paired with a huge luxury interior, airy, big. You don't find that in electric mobility at the moment. And whether it's the best electric car in the world, that's what the customers will decide. And we're also looking forward to your feedback in these days here.
This round shape extends over the entire silhouette, over 5.22 meters of the whole vehicle. And here at the rear we have a clear breakaway edge, which is also important in order to achieve the good aerodynamics. But the real highlight here at the back is this sensationally large boot. We have 610 liters here. That's already 110 more than in the S-Class. And if we fold down the rear seats here, then we have up to 1,770 liters, sensationally large. The highlight now is to sit in the driver's seat, but we have comfort doors here. They are electric doors, and to do that I have to go outside this sensor area once, and then when I have this key in my pocket and I approach the vehicle, then at some point the handles should automatically come out. I'm curious when that will happen. Now they come out, and when I walk here with the key in my pocket, then the doors open as if by magic. And the nice thing is, when I'm sitting inside, all I have to do is press the brake, and then the door closes again as if by magic. Crazy. The electric doors are optional. The interior is dominated by the usual luxury of the special class. A display called Hyperscreen extends across the entire dashboard to the passenger seat. 1,000 functions can be selected here by touch or voice control. The electric doors can also be controlled via the screen. Comfort seats and very generous space make for an exceptional feeling of roominess. Before we set off, however, we note the remaining range, a maximum of 518 kilometers. Because later, we also want to check the power consumption. Driving electrically has its own fascination. A lot of people say electric mobility isn't emotional, but it's a different emotionality because I'm more relaxed, because I have super comfort here and acceleration that's actually brutal.
brachial eigentlich schon ist.
The quietness in the vehicle is a big plus in comfort, and in terms of performance, even the base's EQS is a statement. We now have the current entry-level 450 Plus here. It's purely rear-wheel drive. We have 333 brake horsepower of power here, and they don't struggle at all with the weight of the vehicle. We have a 0 to 100 figure of 6.2 seconds. The top speed is 210 kilometers per hour. However, if you want to reach this speed often, you'll have to get to the charging station sooner. At least the EQS can recharge with a peak power of around 200 kilowatts. This means that 300 kilometers of range can be charged in 30 minutes. The technology is only surpassed by another Mercedes Virtue. The great core competence of this vehicle is, of course, the absolute comfort in here. We have newly developed seats that are electrically adjustable, heated, ventilated, and so fluffy that I don't want to get out of the car. Additional standard equipment compared to the combustion engine S-Class drives up the price. The minimum price in Germany is around 110,000 euros. Unlike the normal combustion S-Class, we now have a few more extras here. For example, Airmatic is in as standard. And we have the 4.5-degree rear axle steering that's also standard here. And you could also upgrade to the 10-degree rear axle steering. You just need a software upgrade for that. Power consumption increases significantly in the mountains. The manufacturer actually promises between 16 and 20 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. We set off with a range of 510 kilometers. The battery is not quite full now because we drove up the mountain to the event, to the shoot. And it turned out that we were already using 51 kilowatt hours, now even 56 kilowatt hours of electricity, which is far above what the manufacturer specified. But it's also the case that we don't only drive uphill in everyday life. The nice thing is that we can recuperate electricity when driving downhill. We can recuperate up to 260 kilowatts peak power here. And that's as if there was a tanker truck driving next to us now, constantly refueling us. So the battery gets fuller when driving downhill. That is also one of the decisive differences compared to the internal combustion engine. What the car consumes too much of going uphill, it miraculously returns to the battery on the way down. After a good 100 kilometers, it's off to the charging station. But before the actual energy consumption can be determined, the initial question must be answered. The question at the beginning was, is the EQS the best electric car in the world? To answer that question, I would have had to drive all the electric cars in the world. I haven't driven them all. I have some gaps, but I've certainly driven one of each brand. And I don't know of any electric car that has a more impressive overall performance than the EQS. Is this conclusion also true for electricity consumption? The odometer shows that we drove 110 kilometers with an average consumption of 16.2 kilowatt hours of electricity per 100 kilometers, which is at the lower end of the stated range. And I think that's pretty fair. But the crucial thing, which I find particularly cool, is that we only used electricity for 43 kilometers for the 110 kilometer distance. We set off with 518, and now we still have a possible range of 485 on the speedometer. But you also have to be honest. I drove down the Furka Pass, and it's the Gotthard Pass, the motorway, downhill, and I was nicely recharging my batteries the whole time. Consumption and quality are right with the Benz. But when it comes to pure driving pleasure, the next car is at least a cut above the rest. It's supposed to be a true all-rounder, off-road capable, a family-friendly estate car, and a very sporty one at that. With its electric drive, it's also supposed to be Porsche's answer to climate change. A sports car for the green conscience. Is Porsche delivering the ultimate all-purpose mobility weapon? This is the fastest electric sports station wagon in the world, and no one can challenge it for the title because it's also the only one at the moment. With the EQS, Mercedes has an electric luxury saloon on offer, from which the Porsche Taycan, with its sporty roots, is clearly distinguished. And with the Taycan Cross Turismo, the Zuffenhausen-based company occupies the electric sports estate niche. The exciting question is, now that Mercedes has presented the EQS, that is the electric luxury saloon, Porsche already has an electric sports car on the market, with the Taycan, and is now following up with the Taycan Cross Turismo. That is, an electric estate. How tight things get for Tesla. The hunt is on. Tesla has shaken up the market with its electric cars. The Americans have been making profits for the first time since 2020. But the established German premium manufacturers are countering with their luxury and sports models EQS, Taycan, and others to show who wears the crown of automotive engineering. Cross Turismo. This addition to the Porsche Taycan stands for more utility. At 4.97 meters in length, this luxury electric sports estate combines everything to make life difficult for Tesla. An optional off-road package makes the sports car suitable for gravel pits. The chassis can be raised by 30 millimeters. If you want, you can now let off steam off-road. It also offers plenty of space. Its boot holds 405 litres and up to 1,171 litres with the backrests folded down. The figures are impressive. 1,050 Newton-meters push the electric sports car to 100 kilometers per hour in 2.9 seconds. If you push the top speed of 250, you probably won't get around 460 kilometers as promised by the manufacturer. On paper, it's definitely a sports car. A quick reality check. A typical electric car problem is also evident here with the Porsche. The battery pushes its curb weight to 2,320 kilos. One reason for its comparatively short range of around 460 kilometers. Tesla and Mercedes offer more.
Too much weight is never good. Like with humans, perhaps, that a little excess weight is not really good for anyone who wants to be sporty on the road. With electric vehicles, we have the advantage, even if the weight is high, that it sits in the right place, that is in the vehicle at the very bottom with a low center of gravity, so that you can compensate for partial aspects.
Its low center of gravity and massive power make for an indescribably sporty driving experience. You hardly notice the weight of this car. Without screaming engine noise, you can beam through the landscape in the Taycan at lightning speed. If I had to compare this car with something from the old world, it would certainly be the Audi Avant RS6, the sports estate par excellence with super power. Or Porsche's classic Porsche Panamera Turbo S e-hybrid with 700 horsepower by now. And now we have another 61 horsepower more at the top. That already shows where the journey is going with electric vehicles. These are very impressive performance values that are displayed here in the longitudinal dynamics.
What's special about our vehicle is that we've built a sports car that is very low and actually physically very close to the road surface, so that the sensor system can't be positioned high up overlooking everything, as would be ideal, but rather the conflicting goals of combining attractive design and a sporty silhouette with a decent perception of the surroundings. I think that's the challenge with this car.
The fun factor is even higher in a closed-off area. At the Porsche Experience Center at the Hockenheim Ring, sports car enthusiasts can experience all the Zuffenhausen models for themselves on a dynamic circuit. Andre Lotterer at the wheel of a Taycan Turbo S. The Formula E racing driver takes off for a quick lap around the track. He shows us what potential lies dormant in the Taycan. Fun is guaranteed, but how emotional is driving an electric car for a professional?
Very precise. For me as a racer, it's always very important how precise and how well the car reacts. And it's always there with the direct response from the accelerator, and you can position the car really well. It's different, but for me, it's emotional, because you feel like you're driving into the future.
A different kind of emotionality. The acceleration values and the response behavior are clearly more agile than with an internal combustion engine. You simply have to experience it for yourself. Back on the road, time for a conclusion.
Vom Automobilbaustandpunkt aus.
From an automotive standpoint, the Taycan Cross Turismo is certainly the sportiest electric car driving around on this planet right now.
Planeten derzeit rumfährt, denn
Because Tesla, it has to be said honestly, is an American car maker. Tesla is actually more of a tech company. From an automotive engineering point of view, they are very American. No one can hold a candle to the German manufacturers, especially Porsche, as the Taycan Cross Turismo has impressively demonstrated. Where Porsche needs to do its homework is in the area of batteries and range, where the Germans are lagging behind and Tesla is ahead.
Sind die Deutschen einfach hinterher, da hat wiederum Tesla die Nase vorn.
The Cross Turismo is a superlative electric car. Lots of power, the precision of a sports car, and space like a station wagon. These attributes are also reflected in its price. Porsche wants a whopping 190,000 euros for the Turbo S in the basic version. But there is a cheaper way. Audi's e-tron GT Sports Saloon is built on the same platform. And it's almost identical to the e-tron GT concept car that the Ingolstadt-based company presented at the 2019 LA Auto Show. It is also the car that Tony Stark drives in the blockbuster Avengers Endgame. It's an absolute rarity for a concept car to go into production almost entirely unchanged, because often the production models are soft-soaped versions of the concept. Kudos to Audi for actually putting this car on the road like this. The Audi e-tron GT is based on the same platform and 800-volt architecture as the Porsche Taycan. But more on that later. This car has futuristic styling, but is still instantly recognizable as an Audi. Not as minimalistic as a Porsche Taycan or a Tesla Model S. Confident, wide, with sharp sidelines and the typical Audi front. The e-tron GT is the first all-electric sedan with a sporty, aggressive look. The four-door is as long as an Audi Q8, but lower than an Audi RS7 Sportback. This brings aerodynamic advantages and the driver sits very low to the ground. The drag coefficient is 0.24, an immensely important factor for electric cars, as the range is extremely dependent on this value. The Audi e-tron GT has a lithium-ion battery with a capacity of 83.7 kilowatt-hours. This is exactly the same size as that of the Taycan 4S. Audi promises a range of 458 to 501 kilometers. As usual, the batteries are housed in the floor of the vehicle. This means that the center of gravity is even lower than in the Audi R8 sports car with its V10 mid-engine. With a 270 kilowatt DC fast charger, the battery charges from 5 to 80% in just over 23 minutes. And 5 minutes at the charging station is enough for a range of around 100 kilometers. The e-tron GT has two electric motors, one at the front and one on the rear axle. So the Audi has all-wheel drive as standard. The combined output is 350 kilowatts or 476 horsepower. In boost mode, up to 530 horsepower is available, but only for 2.5 seconds, for example in a short sprint when overtaking. The e-tron uses the same two-speed gearbox as the Taycan. The second gear makes the saloon more economical. The first provides better acceleration values. The sprint to 100 kilometers per hour takes 4.1 seconds. This is even 1.3 seconds faster than the Porsche Taycan with rear-wheel drive and 0.1 seconds faster than the Taycan 4S with all-wheel drive. But it can get even a little better. The GT variant is not the only model in the portfolio. Audi is offering an RS version for the first time among its all-electric vehicles. The RS e-tron GT delivers 598 electric horsepower or 646 in boost mode. Torque is 830 Newton-meters, which is more than the 800 Newton-meters in the RS7. The sprint from standstill to 100 kilometers an hour takes 3.3 seconds. The e-tron GT achieves incredible acceleration, even though it weighs 2.4 tons, about the same as a larger SUV. To make sure the driver doesn't notice much of this, Audi has packed an adjustable air suspension and all-wheel steering into the GT. The interior has a familiar Audi cockpit. No futuristic XXL touchpads. There is still room for buttons. And everything in the typical Audi quality of workmanship. Even if the Ingolstadt company is late into the electric market, no one can beat them in this area. There's plenty of legroom for rear seat passengers. The all-electric sedan can be ordered with a leather-free package that uses only sustainable and recycled materials. When it comes to luggage, however, there are no surprises. The boot of the GT has 405 litres of volume. There is an additional 81 litres at the front. An A7 offers considerably more, with 535 litres. To ensure that an e-tron GT is also perceived as acoustically independent, the engineers have programmed their own sound for the electric vehicle. With the help of exterior loudspeakers, the saloon can be heard by passers-by. speakers in the interior remind the driver that he is traveling in a high-performance Audi model. Even if it sounds synthetic, you'll get used to it. Those flirting with the Taycan now have an all-electric alternative. The e-tron GT may not be as extreme as a Taycan Turbo S, but as an RS model, it is around 50,000 euros cheaper and more than adequately powered. And for friends of perfect workmanship, there is no other four-door electric alternative anyway.